I'm Clint, and welcome to Swatches Livestream number 18. We're already to 18. I think that's pretty amazing. So if you're watching this in recording, then there will be a timestamp in the description below. You can look down there for that. Click on that, and it'll jump you right to the start of the challenge review entries. Otherwise, for those joining live, we'll be given a couple of minutes just for you guys to log in and get comfortable, and I'm going to take a moment, check over my audio levels, my video connection, make sure everything looks good over there, and then we'll get into it. So, Jay Welch, you're the first one in this week. Good to see you. Good to have your submission. Thanks for joining the challenge this week. We had less entries than last week. We had a record 42 entries for last week. This week it's down about half of that. But we got some good ones. And we also seem to have a lot of people that got about 2/3 of the way through their image and had something to come up. So for some reason there's an echo to your audio. Well, I am in a little room that does have echo. But aside from that, I don't see that you would have a mic from anything else. Blue Yeti mic. Tell me if that's any better. I just changed. No, it's software wise. Well, I've only got one mic going, and that's my Yeti mic. Fixed. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think it was picking up a little bit through my webcam mic as well. Thanks for letting me know. That's exactly why we pause before we really get going. Alright, good. Get rid of that. So, Sam, Yasta, Oni Robot, good to see you. Robert Dunos, thanks for that. Yeah, it's gone. Cool. Sofa Strangler, you were the last one to get yours in. What'd you get it in, like 20 minutes ago? You squeezed in there. Barely Molly, good to see you. And thanks everybody for being so active out on the Facebook group. If you haven't been out there, that's swatches.group. It will link you directly to the Facebook group. If you have not joined, all you need to do is ask to join, and I will just okay everybody who wants to join. We're getting quite a few pieces being posted out there for peer review. When I have the chance, I'll toss in a comment or two, but I do limit how much time I put on Facebook during the day. So if I can get to you, I will. Otherwise, we have a lot of great guys here in the community, and they are happy to give you some really positive critique and help give you some ideas of how to face some of the challenges you might be having. Also, if you're new, then you might not know that I have a Discord. And the Discord link will be in the description of the video. I have not added it to this image here, so you'll have to check that out. Or go on the Facebook group. It'll be out there as well. And you can chat along with some of the other people in the group. Jerry Lynn, just want to say hi, but got to get to the evening classes. Well, Jerry, thanks for dropping in. And, of course, these will be recorded, so you can come back and watch these later. William, good to see you. First time catching the stream. Well, thank you for joining. I know this is a bit later than I normally do. I normally start at 6, but I had to take care of some other stuff. And it's not real great for my guys on the other side of the pond, but there we go. That's why we have recordings. George, always good to see you. So happy to catch another one of your live streams. Well, good for having you. Yeah, we got 38 in already. I think that's good enough. We'll go ahead and start looking at some of the entries. So, if you are new to the videos and to what this is, then we do have a weekly art challenge. Every week we announce what the challenge will be. People have a week to do it, obviously, weekly challenge. And then they have to submit it in. I look at them, we talk about them, and I set up a couple of winners. Oh, we also I'm gonna be changing things up a little bit. Let me cover this now while I'm remembering. Alright, so for this time we're going to do it totally same as we have done it before. But going forwards, I'm going to adjust how the winning works a little bit. I was not sure at all if there was any interest in a weekly challenge when I started it. And so I didn't give a lot of thought about how it was going to be set up or anything like that. But going forwards, I want to adjust it. We have a couple of people in here now that are, I would say, semi-pro. They're doing really good stuff. And we also have people in here that are practically beginners. They've never really done it. They also should have a chance to, try to get in. I don't want to have to get into doing classes like tiers of artists. I don't want to have to keep track of everybody. That's going to get crazy. So going forwards, we can still have winners. But only the first time that you win do you get a free product from the store. Otherwise, basically, all it takes is one professional to join, and then he's going to win it as long as he wants, right? So, going forward, first time you win, you get a free product. Now, in addition to that, I want to start doing a short interview with each winner each week. And of course, as you know, I have co-winners. If I think a couple of pieces really stood out that week, I pick a couple of pieces, whatever works. I want to do a short interview where we do like 5 questions, sort of, what did you find the most difficult part of your image was? What part are you most satisfied with? If you could go back and change something, what would you change? What was your major inspiration? Can you show us some sketches that you made before the final? And then I will put that up with the pictures, a little interview up on the Swatches Facebook page. And that way it becomes more educational, and I think it would help the community more. So that's the plan going forwards. All right. Now, entries. Here's the entries we had for this week. And the outline was to create a retro robot exploring an alien terrain. And it could be pretty much any mood that you wanted, and you could focus either on the robot or on the scene or the feeling that you want. But, yeah, so what do we have here? We have 24, so a little over half of last time. And we'll just go alphabetically, as we normally do. Alejandro. Computer's pausing there a little bit. Oh, okay. Alessandra Gava, good to see you. Good evening. Jimmy Clint, photo on the page. I'm liking that idea. Yeah, I think it would be good. It's just, gives you guys, if you win, you get a little feature, right? I'll put it up there, get a little more coverage, and, help us or help the other people learn and get an idea of how you approached it. Because they're going to look up to you. Okay, what won? Why did it win? What was he thinking about? And that's the whole idea of the community, learning from each other. So Alejandro gave us this guy. I don't know if he's scanning because he's like trying to, attack something, or this is a science bot. But anyway, he went with a more muted color scheme, and that's fine. One thing I'm gonna knock on a little bit is I'm not sold that this is an alien terrain. I mean, this could be Earth. There's a lot of places of Earth that this would fit. So even if you had just made these tree limbs and leaves purple, okay, well, all of a sudden it becomes not Earth. Or make the sky an unusual color. So it doesn't take a big change. Like, you don't have to invent an entirely new ecology. All you need to do is adjust some of the colors so it's not quite natural. Powell says, ask Swatches, any chance you could start at this time every week? It is easier for me to start later than earlier. I'll tell you that. Because I am trying to get a full work in my day before I even start this. So yeah, that's a possibility. If I get a couple more suggestions or requests to start at this time rather than 5 or 6, then yeah, I'd probably be happy to do that. Toxie says, hey Ken, I post a link in chat for criticism. If you want to put it in there, have some of the other guys do it, sure. I might not be able to get to it. But that also reminds me, if you have a question that you want to toss to me, most of you guys probably already know this, but put @Swatches right there at the beginning of your question. It will flag it in orange so that I can immediately recognize it. Otherwise, I will assume that your comments are just to each other, and I'm probably not going to read them. I can't read them fast enough. Are you still doing portfolio critiques? Yes and no. I was starting to do portfolio critiques just as I had time after the entries. A lot of people seem to really like getting their stuff looked at. So I'm kind of giving a higher priority to the people who are participating. I know that they're making an effort, and so I'll go ahead and critique their stuff a little bit. And then those, that send in their portfolio that have not entered, if I have time, I'll get to them. All right. So a couple of suggestions. Yeah, just with the alien train doing that. There may be a little bit more on these guys about what their function is. I definitely get the retro robot sci-fi vibe, which is excellent. Got that. But are they military? Are they science? And, give me a little indication like that. And you also think about maybe adding some minor signage, or is this an alien robot? Is this a human robot? If it's a human robot, maybe it has a number on it. Give it a little personality, right? Okay, moving on. And sorry, we have this. This is a fun little scene. I like this. Good colors, good pop of colors here. Obviously not going to realism here. Very illustrative scene. I do like just the funness of the scene, if that's the proper way to say it. I am confused a little bit because this looks like an entire world, and we've got plants and stuff, and it looks like, I assume this goes back a long ways, but yet we have a door here with light in it. So is there a building that they're looking out, or are they looking into a building, a big building? That confuses me a little bit. So I think that what would need to happen is this needs to be clarified back here. And I get the feeling like this is a character, because I think there's two eyes, but I don't know if it's a robot like them or whether this is like an alien. So this actually becomes one of the most pivotal parts of the image to tell me, is this going to the horizon? Is this a character? So let's clarify that. Also, these lines are like unusually sharp for something on a plant. You might think about just softening those out, letting them be a little bit fuzzier, or turning them into almost more of veins that they kind of lighten up around it. Yeah, they're just super, I'm going to say a little too tight there. Okay, next up, Dag. Osmar says, are you still doing portfolio critiques? If I have time after the entries, yes. But we also might just take a week off from the weekly challenge to do one that is only portfolio reviews. That would probably be good as well. I'll take that in consideration. Okay, the muted color scheme. I won't say muted color scheme. It's not muted. We've got some good colors here. The limited color scheme. I am a fan of that. A lot of people go very broad on the color schemes, and you've gone for something a lot more narrow, and that shows a lot of control. So we have Bot here. We're just looking at the back of him, taking a look at this thing. I have no idea what this is. It does seem very alien, and that's cool. All right, I like that. This is a little odd. It feels like we essentially just have a canvas with this background and a couple of pieces stuck on it. But there's not much tying any of these together. Like, it's sort of just here and there, and then nothing between. Like, if I saw a bit more of this green veining, just kind of cutting up through this mountainside, or back over here. So this is a consistent thing of the train. Like, maybe it's more concentrated on these bits, but this needs to be something more cohesive that actually ties the image together rather than separates it. Also, here is just a perspective thing. We're looking down on this, this curved cone shape. And so, of course, this is curving down. That would also mean that we're looking down on this as well, and these also need to curve down. I'm sorry, I'm getting something in my throat. Samson says, how many hours of actual drawing do I do on an average day? Probably about 2 at this point. Yeah, so much of my time is right now more managerial and with just keeping up with comments and emails and printing stuff and creating, you know, covers for YouTube videos and updating Facebook pages. And honestly, a lot of my day is taken up with that. I don't do nearly as much art as I want to, which is why I'm trying to switch over to doing a lot more Twitch streaming. If I can start making a little revenue off the Twitch streaming, then I actually make art and make some money off of it at the same time. So, all right, so yeah, check that on here. And I'm also going to, I'm going to suggest that arms are going to be more needed, because arms give you more personality. You can pose with arms. You can do it. Is it something that he's afraid of? Is it something that he's interested in? Is he tired? Is he happy? I can't tell. He has nothing that I can really see to express that with. He's got his legs. His legs are just straight down. His head is straight. Like, if you tilted his head a little bit, or if you used his little, you know, antennae, you can kind of bend them, give a little attitude. You look at Wall-E, right? Wall-E, they got a huge amount of expression and character out of this little robot that has very few expression mechanics. It doesn't have a lot of things. So that's what I'm going to suggest. Maybe the arms would be helpful there. As Swatches, good point. Worked up that leg. The alien flower is blossoming out of a rock, same as the other ones floating, but I agree the points of interest have just plopped down. Yeah, I'd say the bones are pretty good, and it just needs a bit more cohesion to it, or start adding some other minor elements to sort of fill in the rest of it. All right, David Cearley. We have more of an action scene here. We got the robot coming down. I guess he's attacking or trying to collect maybe these insectoid aliens. That's all fine. And I like the action scene. I like the alien creature and having the two in the same scene. He does seem, I don't know if completely retro. He's got some retro pieces to him, so that's all right. The background, I think, is where we really start needing a bit more. And also the color scheme. So we've got this very, I would say, too broad of a color scheme. This is where you're starting to use too many crayons in the box. We have yellow and almost pure yellow and pure violet and orange and red and green and black. And that's a little too much. If we have a lot of orange in here, then that means that this green can't be pure. There's too much orange ambient light for pure green to exist. It's going to be muting it down. What you might think about is just working with a complementary color scheme that is based around orange and green. That can work. So look up some images that are using complementary color schemes and see how you can make that work. Going forward, yeah, I would focus on those things. Also, this is just going back up here. I don't know what this is doing. Is this like a tether to something? Or, I mean, I don't think it's a tail because it attaches like behind the head. So I assume it's a tether. I mean, you could put like a spaceship up here. And so it's like he's jumped out of a spaceship and he's collected some and it pulls him back up. And that would be pretty cool. I'd go along with that. At Swatches, how can I be more... yeah, moved as soon as I started reading that. Hang on. Samuel says, how can I be more efficient with my practice? I listened that a lot, but I feel that as much as I try, I don't progress. More efficient with your practice. I would say one of the reasons a lot of people don't progress, and I'll just pause here and take questions a little bit during the process. One of the reasons people don't progress a lot during practice is because they get in the habit of just being copyists. So they say, like, I'm going to study feet. And so what do? They pull out an anatomy book and they copy the drawings of feet. You didn't really learn anything. All you did was copy something. You're just, a line goes like this, a line goes like this. You're just a human copier. There's no understanding going on moving forwards there. Also, you don't see people progressing very quick when they are trying to learn everything on their own, as if you could just delve into yourself and find the answers that you need. Dude, the answers are out there. So you have people who do not go watch videos and read books and take courses and get information from people who are already experts in that field. So make sure you're doing that. Get good input coming in. I would say that you also need to, and you know what, this is a good question. You know, I'm gonna jot it down. Efficient study habits, practicing, efficient practicing, because there are some good points here. Something else is going in with a game plan. Don't just like, okay, I guess I need to practice something. Know what you're going to practice. Maybe have a theme for the month. This month, I'm going to draw blank. Maybe it's robots. Maybe you're interested in robots. This week, I'm going to draw robots. And so that's what you do. You don't come in there thinking, well, I don't know what I'm going to draw. You go in with a game plan. And again, like if you haven't been watching my Vibrance channels, set little goals for yourself. That is, have an end game in mind that you're aiming for and you're working towards. Anything else? I would say, obviously, keep down on distraction time. And so you're focusing more. And also have realistic expectations. Some people think that if they just spend a week really drawing a lot of something, that they're going to be there. Well, yeah, maybe you don't realize how much time is involved. That could be an aspect of it too. So make sure you have a clearer understanding of what is involved on that. All right, we got to move on. We got too many to look at. Final 14. Good to have another one in from you. And this one has, there's some fun stuff here. I like your robot. He's very bulbous. That's fun. It's a simple landscape, but it obviously just screams sci-fi. And we got a little human here. I guess he is coming after to get this guy, because this guy looks like he's just so tired. He's fell over. He can't even hold his gun anymore. And we got a simple color scheme too. So here we didn't go too wide with the colors. We have basically yellows and violets, or slightly green, yellow, and violet. And that works well. It keeps the two very separated. I think at this point, it is sort of in between, as far as it's not quite finished, and it needs to be taken one of two ways. One is it either needs to be painted to basically every element is painted and given a form, lighted, lit and shadowed, or it needs to be taken in a definitely more illustrative way, because it almost has a sort of retro flat tone feel to it. And I would suggest going out and looking at some old artwork. I wouldn't be surprised if you have already, because it has so much of that flair to it. But they have a way in some of the old artwork or posters or book covers to use sort of flat tones to make it more illustrative. They're not trying to make something completely realistic. So a little more finishing on that. And also on planets, unless there is no atmosphere, in which maybe there isn't an atmosphere. Usually a planet like back here, you're not going to get the black of the planet darker than the black of the area right here next to you. And because this is what? Thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away. And there's got to be atmosphere on that planet and atmosphere on this planet and space rocks and debris or whatever else that is sort of filtering that out a little bit. Anyway, going forward, this guy probably needs a little more work. I feel like this guy has a good, pose and kind of just feel for him. He's pretty self-consistent. This guy feels a little like maybe you need a reference in there. This arm, possibly giving him like a front arm piece, because it looks a little odd that it's like just ribbed all the way down. So yeah, a little more work on the astronaut design. But I like the astronaut being there, and he's basically trying to come after him. Okay, let's see if I can get my chat. Nope, of course my chat is freezing up again. Sorry guys, occasionally my chat will just decide to not do anything. Yeah, actually I think my whole page just froze. There we go, it's finally catching up there. Alright, next one, Guilherme Oliveira. Alright, I like this. This one makes me smile, and the retro robot is great. You have just some of the hallmark stuff. Again, both of you use these sort of, you know, tube round things going down, rubber things, and that's fun. And the eyes are just so classic sci-fi. They're ridiculous. But the color scheme is particularly good, and that is... It's both one of the things that I think is strong about this, and also one of the things that needs to be worked on so that it's even greater strength moving forwards. So you have a limited color scheme. It runs from like yellow through the warms to the violet. So you keep away from strong greens and browns and a lot of those dull colors. And so here, think about it. A couple of suggestions would be, one is, he's got like no shadow. There's no shadow in anything. And you can keep it a little flat, and that's okay. But let's add at least a little shadow. And then this too. We have these orange elements, tree things for lack of a better term, going into the background. And that's cool. But let's do the same thing in reverse so that these plants down here are yellow or orange in nature, and they're here. So basically you have a big orange, violet block down here with yellow bits intersecting it. And at the top you have a big yellow block with violet bits intersecting it. And you have this nice sort of, you know, connection between the two like that. These also probably need to have just a little more design to them. You can have some little things on it like this, but give me something else. Like it gets to the top of it and it's got a big bulb. Or it gets to the bottom and there's, you know, a couple of big leaves coming off of it. Or, you know, some of these really change the silhouette. So give me something that just breaks up being a completely straight line is essentially what it looks like. Going forwards, who else do we have? Hefesto. I love the colors of this. This is one of those that just makes you smile color schemes. And this guy's pose, he just seems like he's so happy with this. And that's fantastic. So, obviously in alien terrain, if a place like this existed on Earth, I'd already have visited it. But the straight yellow clouds, green clouds, giant mushrooms, it's so good. This one I think needs a bit more polish, just like let's add a bit more detail to a couple of places. I don't think you want it everywhere. It's not the sort of place, image that you want that everywhere. He's almost a little too simple. Like, this is cool. You can give me the glass ball and just a really simple body. That's fine. But give me at least some joints, right? Show me some robot joints on the elbows and the knees and maybe some little jointed fingers. And that would be nice. And like the gold here, let's use the gold some more. Gold is really good. So we've already established that he has gold as part of his design. And then you use this. So he's really got three colors. I don't think the green necessarily is his color. Either keep it the same bluish tone and add some like gold joints. Like maybe his joints are made of metal and the rest of it's more of that bluish green color. Yeah, the sky though, I love this. You could think about adjusting it so that essentially the top side is nice and warm, and then the bottom side it like cools off. Or, yeah, I'll probably say warm on the top, cool on the bottom. And that way you've got two colors that are sort of, you know, I would say vibrating against each other because they're slightly opposites, right? The warm and cool going up, All right, and what else? These are mountains, I take it, but I'm not sure. This just needs a little more rework. I don't know if that's a mighty stream, like a mighty river, or just a little stream. A little confused with just the distance and what exactly is going on down there. We got different suggestion. Clouds are good. Yes, the clouds are good. The whole thing has a lot of good vibes to it, and it has a good flow to it. You could think about putting some moons up here in the background, just some faded moons. The thing is, we have him looking up here, and we have the clouds circling like this. So a lot of this stuff in this image is pointing you to this area that just doesn't have anything to look at. And it would be helpful if it did. Either some more clouds cutting across it, or throw me a moon up there, or add some spaceships, or you could have a flock of alien birds flying across, and he's like, oh wow, alien birds. So yeah, let's just flesh out the idea a little bit more. Okay, next, Igor. I'm not sure which way you say it. A lot of polish on this one. This is a fun image. It's well done, and it has its own little narrative here. Actually, a couple of you went with this sort of idea that the robot is examining some sort of plant that is actually a lure to a larger creature. The colors here work pretty well. He does have the very violet background and various shades. And up here we have, of course, that. And the green offsets it well. He does keep a lot of the high whites and highlights out of it so that this shows up plenty well. And this guy is fun. I like the little smile that you have with his jawline. This does feel a little flat because it's completely side on. I wonder if there might be a better way that we could get a little more dimensionality out of it. And that can be fun. What else? I would say we could limit the darkness of the background and lighten that up just a little bit. So not only are we using violet, but I don't know that we need to go to black, so that we can leave this really nice and dark, and it's going to stand out because it's both darker and it has green where the background doesn't have any green, and it's slightly lighter, so you use a little value range change there. We could also put some shadow as he's coming down. We only really need light up along this area, so maybe there is a shadow going across, and it just catches him on the legs downwards, and that way it gets a little bit darker. Hey, Bobby, welcome for joining. Hey, good to have you here. Bobby has his own art channel. He does not drawing so much as he makes cool handmade things. And what was your newest one? A pencil inception? Carved a pencil from a pencil from a pencil? You guys gotta check that out. He's got a cool channel. All right, I'm Alone from Calanita. There we go. This one says, I'm alone, and I've read the description of it, and essentially this robot is so happy that he's finally alone. And he doesn't like to be around all the other robots or people or anything. And so he gets to this alien planet where he's the only one, and he's like ecstatic. And I thought that was a cool idea. He's a little introvert robot. Okay. So what is working here, what's not? I like the guy's expression. And using the hands, I feel like he's doing this sort of thing. And that's a good way to give expression. And you also put the shoulders up with it. So the shoulders hitting high. And that's good, again, for the expression. The lighting and the colors are where the piece is sort of falling apart a little bit. And because they're just scattered right now. I feel like you're tossing out some colors, trying to get some finish on it, but didn't have a proper amount of time to analyze it and think through what you wanted. So we have, again, pure reds, purples, greens, browns, grays, blacks, whites. So let's find a color scheme that you like. Like Gilharm here, he found a particular scheme, and you have to apply that to everything. And it's not less because he's using less. And that's something you got to get through your head. Oftentimes, limiting your color scheme will actually strengthen your image, and expanding it out will actually weaken it. But it does mean that you have to put thought beforehand on how to make it a little more cohesive. So, in this case, let's go with the sort of cyan green aqua color along with the violet. I think that would work. Now, this is probably not the best color to go for him unless you're going to go for a nice brass, shiny brass color. And so that he's the only thing that uses that sort of orange range in an image full of violets and aqua greens. And everything else needs to sort of run in that range. Also, let's control the values. We have a really high contrast with almost everything in the image. And that's because there's no specific light source set. So let's think about that as well. All right, moving on. James. James has, I think, one of the best line works going into this, but he didn't have time to finish as much as he wanted this week. And I think that's a shame because this is going so well for this guy. And I do like this style. He's got a lot of little textures going on here. This is properly done textures. He's gone for a very illustrative look with a mix of flat tones and line work with a little texture thrown in with these dots and just the way the lines are done here. This is a good way to handle a different style and meshing shadows and lighting along with lines. I've seen some people have some issues with that before in some of the other entries, and I'll just say that this is a good way to go about it. And he just has basically flat tones on a lot of rest of it, and so he'll need to go back and give that some loving and lights and shadows. But this is fun. I like your character design, and I like that he's just so oblivious to the fact that, he's about to be completely swallowed here. But that's fun. I like the guy. And I like your designs, too. You can go check out his gallery. And he has some of the sketches of the different robot variations and head variations that he tried out before he got to this one. Okay, Jeffrey. Jeffrey Parent got us this one again. You see the theme of robots collecting little flowers that are part of another bean or luring in another bean. Of course, this has a semi-cat look to it, so it automatically gets some sort of little point in my book because I'm a cat person. I like your creature. I think that I actually like your creature a little more than I like your robot. This guy is kind of cool, and you do a couple of things with him that I think most people wouldn't think to do. You gave this mouth to it, almost a jack-o'-lantern mouth to it, and that's, I think, a good choice. And these, instead of like regular whiskers, you gave these things to it. I don't know if they're long hairs or antennae or what they are, but it does give a simple alien look to it. Where would you go from this? I feel like this is the first pass, and it really just needs to be continued to work on a bit. So, the robot, again, these joints don't really work. This one sort of works, but I don't see these legs working too much. And maybe adding a little more color. Like, he's supposed to be the main guy, but he doesn't have a lot to him. He's pretty straightforward. So, even if you just changed up and you had another kind of material, like the big black tube things going down his arm, or whether you had just some funny looking antennae coming off the sides, just something to give him a little more personality, or a couple of different colors or something. The background, I'm not going to say much. It just feels like it's not had time to be developed. So I would assume that you would go on and develop some other plants and, add rocks and that sort of thing. So that's fine. Well, let's think about the color, though. We want to go with more of the light falling on the main subject and let the hidden background character be in the shadow. That way you have two reveals, right? When you see the image, it first hits you robot looking at flower. Then it's, a fraction of a second later, it's, oh, the beast is back there. But we don't want to make the beast obvious, right? This is the reveal in the image. So let's put him in shadow, and maybe we use him as a silhouette, and we lighten the background. We put light on what is this background tree or you know, canyon or whatever this is back here. And so he stands out because he's nice and light. And then we have the silhouette, and he stands out because he's dark, and then he goes back to light, right? Because you have to have that alter each time. Okay, going forwards. Koido. Always good to have Koido. And good to have you join stuff in with the challenges. You always make me smile and impress me what you do with my simple little stuff. I don't know where you find the time to do this stuff. You should be getting professional work. If you can kick something like this out on your off time in a week, you really need to be getting professional work. So, this is really good, guys. He always has nice stuff. I do suggest you take a look at what he's doing. So, again, the theme continues. Robot looking at a little flower thingy. And it's actually a beast. He has changed it this way so that the beast is essentially lurking under the ground. And it's going to pop up and get him when he gets on top of it. And I appreciate that direction. It's a little different. And it reminds me of something I would expect to see from an underwater creature. The way that they would sort of wallow down into the silt at the bottom, and then maybe they'd come up and attack something. So it's got that framework of how the creature would work. It also makes it alien but relatable. And so that's nice as well. Let's talk about some of the things that I do like. I do like the controlled color scheme. We have the very warm scheme here in the foreground, cool in the background. It creates a distinction between the two. We also have the value range. We have the limited higher values back here. We have darker values up here, muted values in the background, more vibrant colors in the foreground. He's putting into practice a lot of the basic things that I try to teach you guys, which is just control the color scheme, control the value scheme, create divisions between the planes of the image. What would I suggest? I would actually suggest reposing this guy a little bit. Now, if we add him and you turned his body away from us, so we're seeing a little bit of this side of it, and he's here, and now he's turning his head back because he notices the flower. Now we have him in the middle of an action rather than just stationary and looking at something. He's turned his head and he's fixed his eyes on something, and now he's just starting to move his arm so that his body will follow it. It would be a small adjustment, but I think it would be helpful. You can also bring a little more color into maybe the trees by adding a bit of orange or green pops back here. I feel like this could have a little bit more color back here without, I would say, breaking the framework of the image too much, because this has so much more value to begin with. Okay, anything else? No, it's a good piece. I think for now that covers it. Oh, also pay attention to the intentional lighting. He's put the light right there so that you catch just enough of this creature to notice the creature. Oh, and you could darken this back here more. So the values that you have going on and the colors that you have going on with this tree, they really need to be coming across here as well, so that you got even more pop from the flower. And that's one of the problems with this, is that this is actually not standing out quite as much. You could have like this rock coming up here, and it could be a bigger rock. Or this could be coming over here just a little bit more. Find a way for that to be a little bit darker and let that pop out even more with the flower. Okay. Come down here and let me take a look at the chat just real quick to see if I'm missing something. I've been running on for a couple of minutes. Sam says, a lot of the robots seem to be based on toys. I ran across so many when I was looking for a reference. Yeah, they do have a distinct sort of old retro robot toy feel. That's fine with me. I even mentioned it in the description. last week in the video, saying that he could even be like the old Rock'em Sock'em robots, and so that connection's fine. You know, as far as I'm concerned, like that could be, you know, some kid's imagination, right? And this is him playing with his little robot and his adventures. And you could do an entire children's book of the little robot going on the adventures because of this, the kids playing out with it. Kind of a Toy Story thing. Let's see. I was going to do a flower creature too, but I thought it was too much. I was too much on mine. How would you find good robot reference? I worked on a steampunk gnome, and it was difficult to make a believable machine. I would start with Google. I mean, honestly, just to start with. You could check out to see what people are doing out on ArtStation. There's a good high-level art site out there. As well as, if you don't use Google image, you could use the Yandex image. You look at Pinterest. Pinterest can actually be really good at finding some more obscure stuff that Google won't pick up. So you can do that too. Sam says, I've recently searched for robots in different decades. Some of the late 1800s look very steampunk. Yes, true. Lau, I'm not sure how you say that. L-U-I. Hey, Clint, I recently discovered your channel. Great stuff. Thank you for offering your time to help so many artists develop their skills. Very much appreciated. All the best to you. Well, all the best to you as well. Thank you for joining this stream and watching the videos. Up next, we have Little Robot by Murray. Okay. This is a strong piece. I think this has a lot going for it, even though it's not as complex as some of the other images. It has a really good finish level for a very limited amount of time. It's a very controlled color scheme and value scheme. I do like the believability of the color scheme here and the overall mood that you've created. You have somehow created an epic feeling about this little robot with very little in your scene. You made use of that low angle, so we're looking up at him. I just have the feeling that he's little. I don't have anything to really know that he's not big. I just, from the shape, you know, the big head, short legs, I assume he's little when looking up at him. You've got a good lighting on it. Now, notice here on the lighting that he's got a nice bright light on one side, but it's not black on the other side. And that's a mistake a lot of junior artists make is, if it's light here, then the shadow must be black. No, the shadow doesn't have to be black. It just has to be darker than the light side. So, he's got warmer on the lights, cooler on the lefts, but we're not losing detail over here. In fact, he's got a great amount of texture and surfacing going on with these metals. And he's made an effort to make them look worn. So he's got over a lot of these edges and just chipped it with that little silver color to show that it's worn down a little bit. He's also got some scrapes and rust patterns in there. Again, cool. I do like the number 2 here. I don't know what the significance of it is, but it gives him more personality, and again, you have worn it off in several places, so it doesn't look like he's factory fresh. That's good as well. This effect is nice, the way that you have it fading into the distance. I'm also going to commend the use of soft and sharp, I would say not sharp, soft and strong edges. So back here we have totally fuzzed, and back here it is you know, stronger edge. He says, Pat says, should he have photo bashed? That's apparently an industry standard now. I don't think he photo bashed this. He probably used some sort of pastel-y brush, or maybe he, in order to create some of the textures, but I don't see any photo bashing. He might have, yeah, I don't know if it's a male or female. Sorry. I was paying attention to your gallery when I looked at it. I am going to call out the rocks a little bit. The rocks being there are okay. But again, it's just, they feel kind of plopped. I would, if you just break it up a little bit, another little rock here, maybe another little rock there, And so you stagger them a little bit. These two are about the same shape. They're about the same distance from him. So maybe just changing that some. Or allowing the sand to go up on top of it a little bit, or set on a couple of little divots of it. And that way there's a little intermix, and it's not just basically one solid block of dark on both of them. That's sort of what I'm trying to break up, is just two blocks like that. The two moons are nice. They're subtle, but they're a good inclusion. All right, moving on. Matthias. I'm going to assume that's how you say it. And we got a black and white going on. Again, guys, you do whatever style fits for you. I am basically going to come from a point of realism, but I'll try to meet you with whatever style you are. And also with the media. You want to do digital? Awesome, do digital. You want to do pen and ink? Do it. Watercolor? Do it. Pencils? Whatever. You do whatever is interesting you for this challenge. Okay, so this one, things I like is the idea that he's actually underwater. And that there's some sort of structure underwater. And it's a robot that has a shark eyeing him. I think that's a cool idea. He did say that he did not get to finish this. So there was unfinished elements, obviously. And that he was going to have like a Stargate over here. And that's the light source. So I'm assuming the narrative then would be, this is like a scout robot and a sort of Stargate situation where they send it through, but it actually went through and it ended up on a underwater place. I think the idea needs a little more work, because one thing, obviously the gate is not here, so I don't know that. But let's push further with the underwater idea. Yeah, an underwater pyramid with a shark. But unless he's going to Earth, then yeah, it does need to be an alien shark. So we can have some of the same shark features, but let's make sure that we're changing it up and we're doing something alien with it. And of course, we want to see if this is underwater, cool coral stuff. Corals and seaweed and weird alien underwater stuff. And I think that can make for a cool image. You don't see a lot of robots underwater in a sort of sci-fi setting. So keep moving along with that. All right, Mitch. Mitch, it doesn't want to let go of that image. Here we go. I tell you what, this has such an 80s vibe to it. Just the the glowing, you know, the glowing grid on the ground, and I can practically hear the synthesizer music playing when I'm looking at this. I'm an 80s, you know, child, so I have a soft spot for all that. Yeah, I'm not sure what is quite going on here. If you're just going for a fun illustration, then cool. Let's keep working with it. I think it's unfinished. I believe you were also one of the people that said that you only got it half done. So I'm going to assume that you're going to come back and you're going to give some proper lighting, shading to this, or textures, whatever you have to do. And I would have to say approach it like an illustration rather than realistically, because I mean, is the alien planet a grid? And you know, is this a Tron planet? Is that what's going on here? If so, then it looks like he's collecting this from the planet, but I don't see anything like this out here. So there's a sort of disconnect between what's going on with him and where he is and what this background is. Or if you would just want to do a scene about him, I mean, you don't necessarily need a background. You could just do an illustration of a robot collecting some little rocks. That's fine. I mean, you could just drop in a white background and, you know, finish him up and get some little details going on him. You should think about what you saw in the other people doing, adding some extra textures to the robot, show him a little points of wear and tear. Some parts should be painted, some parts should be shiny. Just give me a variety of different things going on with that. Molly, you're next. Okay, a lot of stuff going on in Molly's image. We have these more drone, droid sort of robots. I would say that this does sort of fit in the retro sci-fi, just the round shape that's floating around, you know, coming to get you. And I like the idea of them flying around, scanning the alien environment, but this also just feels like a little chaotic. I think you were putting down ideas very quickly, and it's understandable because you only had 1 week of free time. And what we need to do now is start focusing the image a bit more. So back here, we actually have the vessel that these guys came down in. And so they've come off the vessel and they're flying around like up here, and they're found the local indigenous life, which is humanoid. And, oh, they said in their description that they were looking at the old sci-fi book covers, and a lot of them had this sort of very attractive pin-up, you know, girls or aliens, or whoever it is, astronauts or aliens, usually one of those. And they wanted to include, you know, a bit of that in their callback. So, you know, that's cool. But let's change it up a little bit. One is, let's move this over. Most people in the English language will read left to right. So it might even work better if you flip the whole image the other way, so that I can make the connection of ship, robots find life. You know, and I'll immediately read the image across that direction. Otherwise, I have to put the story together in reverse here. Okay, what else? Make sure that we are focusing on the major points with the values and the colors. Here we have the brightest, biggest amount of white in the background where the focal point is not. We also have some of the purest, brightest color back here in the purple, back where the focus is not. So let's try to keep those two the foreground, where the droid and the life form is. And that would serve better for the image. Also, if you were to drop the horizon of this back piece down to here, it would be more beneficial for the image, because all of a sudden they break the plane of the horizon. Their silhouettes help make them stand out and make them more prominent. Where right now they're completely lost in the darkness and the colors of this land piece back here. Okay, let's move on. Monica. Let's pull out. Barely Molly says, I completely agree. I felt chaotic trying to draw it, but I felt like I needed to push through it. No, I'm glad you did push through it. There is a lot of good stuff there. You've got the narrative going on. We just need to rebalance the image and refocus. All right, well, we need more attention here, less attention here. We need to tell the story a little more simply if we rearrange a couple of things. And so that's all. And every piece has to go through that sort of stage. That's fine. Monica Bernal has got us this guy, the Researchobot 86. Good to have the Researchobot. Thanks for sending it in. This is a fun character. I like the character. I think the scene needs a little work, but there is definitely some good things going on here. One is, you've got some simple but effective metal going on here with the reflections, and you got all the little antennae. I like the little glass, I don't know, collector? I think you said he was a collector. He's collecting like liquid from this planet. Rasmus says, at Swatches, this is so educational to watch and listen to you going over these. Thanks for doing that. Well, you're welcome. I enjoy it. You know, this takes me back to just enjoying just being an artist, you know, and this is what it comes back to. Enjoying just being creative and creating new worlds. And, I mean, that's why I got into it. I liked creating my own characters and imagining places that didn't exist. And I like sharing in that with you guys. And if we can learn our skills more, it allows us to attempt more. So if you know how to handle this, then all of a sudden you can be free to take on that next thing. And that's what we're doing here. So hopefully you're having a good time. What's working? What's problematic? Okay, what's working is, overall, I think this guy has a good design. I like some of the extras you have on here, like the stickers. I like the head design with the little bulbs coming out the side. And the 6-arm/leg thing is pretty cool. I don't know that you really need to change that. I am going to suggest that you do something with these guys, the middle ones. I'm not sure what's going on here, because you got like this fuzzy yellow thing. Are these blades? Is this the idea that like they're blades and they're chopping these things? I think that's what you're going for. But I'm not sure why there's the yellow there. I would suggest looking up blades, how somebody has illustrated motion with fans, or I'm trying to think, even photos of things that are spinning, and look at how lines actually blur and how things blur in motion in a photo, and then try to copy that, the gist of how that works. Barely Molly says, really helpful, Crit. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I've always been a character artist, and so when I do environments, I think I tend to make them too busy. I need to learn how to rest in the image. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. We'll take what you said and work on the image, though I like the idea of the robots breaking the horizon line. Excited for the next challenge. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I think it would help. Sometimes what you need to do is, after you bash all your ideas into the scene, is simplify. 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 Doesn't mean you can't have a lot of things in it. You just need to simplify it. And most of the time that means limiting the color range, limiting the value range, limiting the size of different things in the image. So put it all in there and then start figuring out what you need to limit so that the focus goes the right place. Okay, now going forwards, yeah, let's work on the spinny blades, and also maybe change one of these so that it's reaching more in front of him, because they all seem to be going flat out, and we either need to change the arms so that they're kind of in front of him, which would make sort of sense that you're cutting it before you walk into it, or we need to have some more of these things, which I'm fine with these little purplish roundish rock cactus. I'll call it a rock cactus. I think that would make sense. But let these be coming here to the foreground so that we have one of these rock cactus right here, right? And it actually covers up, overlaps part of that shuttle back there. And so it's nice and close right here. And then we have one halfway in between him and the really up close one right back there. And then we have one right here. And we need to replace this one with one of the rock cactus. And then on these, we get to see more of the texture. And what I assume it's pretty porous. I mean, it looks like it's probably a porous thing with little divots in it and it's rock or whatever. Then let's keep with the idea of these shoots in the background. That's fine. But let's limit the value. Let's bring it down so that the darks remain here. But the darkest part of this background back here, once it passes into this orange range, the darkest thing needs to be like this dark. And so we're really dropping that value range. So we have a lot more value distinction between the two of them. You also might put light, the lightest part behind here, and let it darken as it goes up, so that this light steam part has something darker to stand out against. Then the lighter part of the sky will help pull out the shoots here on the bottom. All right, a couple of suggestions going forward on that. Pat says, do most illustrations need elements in the foreground, midground, and background? I would say, in general, yes, it is more helpful to do it that way. Not all images, especially if you're doing like a character design image, you just need the character. You don't really need a scene to go with it. But the depth is usually more helpful than it is harmful. Okay, Powell. I'm butcher every... Okay, if you're new to the channel, just know that I'm going to butcher your name. Okay, we have another... Oh yeah, I forgot there was actually another underwater robot image. So here we have a robot, and he's surrounded by these, frankly, very attractive, interesting sort of jellyfish things. I like these things. And I think that they're still really busy, and maybe we could find a framework in there. Like, even on some of the underwater things, you can kind of pick out a structure to it. There's a pattern or of organics to how this thing's laid out. So maybe just refining that and what I'm exactly looking at. And that is, I think, the major point of this is this robot doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I like where he is. I like your reflections that you can see the water at the top. But I'm confused. This seems more like a lunar lander. Like, it has a pod and it comes down. It has like little legs. So I'm going to just, posit to you, clarify what that is and what these are. Because this seems completely man-made. And then we've got these sort of very organic, rounded things on it. So let's go back to the design of this and find something a little more compelling. Either go in a very lunar lander sort of direction so that it does look like a capsule from a very believable, space voyage that has found rest on an aquatic world, or make it a robot who's, maybe it's a dangerous scene where he's trying to get up to, the air again because he can't float. Or you make it funny, like he's like, oh wow, look at these cool jellyfish things. So there's several ways you can take it. Right now I'm more just like, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. But these are sort of cool, and I think overall the scene is working pretty well as far as the colors and where you have these guys floating around. Oh, if you need ideas for color schemes and how to do water, look at Finding Nemo. And look at the concept art for Finding Nemo. There's some beautiful, beautiful colors. You can basically do color studies of any frame of that movie. It is honestly one of the most artistically beautiful, color-wise movies that's out there. All right, last row, PM Perfect. A little bit different scene. We've got a funny robot, slightly more humorous. Paolo says, as Swatches, thank you for the critique. Sorry, I really dropped the ball on the core concept of this week. I will redeem myself next week. No, I thought it was a good shot, pal. Yeah, everyone sometimes lets the direction sort of drift from them. And that happens. It's just one of the things that you put in the back of your mind so that you're more aware of it going forwards. And it's not like it's not unworkable. It just needs to be refined a little bit and continue going with it. So in this one, we got some floating rocks. I almost feel like this is pretty much just straight outer space. Like, we've just got some rocks floating around in outer space, because this looks like rings of a planet. Maybe it's a destroyed planet and he's the last little robot. I don't know. I don't know what the story is here. And I don't know what this light is. He's apparently looking at this light as well. I would say... I would say that you need to develop that. I don't have a rule for this yet. And I try to make rules or guides so it's very simple to convey things, but there's a point at which you can put a question into an image, into the narrative of an image, and it helps the image and adds to it. And there's also ways that you can put a question into an image and it detracts from the image. So you can put a question in there and be like, what is he looking at? And you make this very sort of curious feeling to it. And it can be done that way. And that can be what an image is built around. And it can also be like, I don't get it. And that's what you don't want. And I feel like this is sort of riding that line. Like, I don't know if you just added the light in afterwards, because it feels like an afterthought. Like, you had this guy doing this, okay. And you thought, well, maybe there's a light pointing at him. Okay, but how does that fit the narrative at all? That doesn't really connect to anything. Now, if we have another little vessel or another little robot, flying to him, and we see the light coming off of that, or if we see some little creature crawled up over here and he's got shiny eyes and he's looking at this guy, now all of a sudden we've got more connections and we have more structure to work around with. Kina says, hey everyone, sorry I'm late. How many did we get this week? 24. We got 24. We're on the last 6 right now. So, yeah, I don't have a straight answer how to go about that, but something to be aware of. Also, if these guys are just floating around, let's change the angle some. Because basically, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy are all setting, like, almost parallel to each other, right? They're all sitting on the same level. Where if there really are asteroids just flying around, then we're going to have these things all tilted different ways. We're probably going to have a lot of little ones. And we just need to go in and make these less uniform. If they are asteroids, then asteroids have a tendency to be, I want to say, they're not round, but they're definitely rounded off more because they, bump into each other. And it wears them down. Similar to if you toss a rock in a stream over a long time, it's going to wear it down into a little oval. So that would be the idea. Okay, next up is Rhonda C. And we have a little colored pencil drawing. Again, guys, if you want to just have fun one week, do something different. This is the first colored pencil piece we have had in any of the submissions. I like seeing it. It's not a big scene. It's very straightforward. We got a little robot. He's on a purple landscape. And we got some, I think it is like alien fireflies, alien birds, somewhere of that scene here. But it's done very in a very fun style and very straightforward design. But it's, I don't know, I have to say, it's charming. All right, it's a very charming little scene, and I appreciate the send in on this. I hope you do submit more stuff, and I hope the rest of you try out colored pencils. It's a really fun thing if you haven't used it, but just realize if you're working with colored pencils, the key is layers. Layers, okay? So pay attention down here. You can pick it up just a little bit that the blue and violet and dark violet or dark blue, there's 3 layers of colors just to make this. And the same thing basically has to happen up here too. You're layering multiple layers of different colors, so which in the end you can get that similar thing that I was talking about. 2 similar or different colors sort of vibrate against each other visually because they're layered on top of each other and a bit of the other one shows out between the strokes of the top one. And then also gives you a much smoother part. You have to go over it many times in order to get a smoother tone. Leo says, thank you for your critique. You're welcome. Was going for curious feeling, but light indeed was added afterwards. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, PM, perfect. All right. At Swatches, thanks for critique. I will try to fix the things you mentioned. Well, yeah, best of luck on that, and thank you for joining the live stream. Sam Reeves. Hey, Sam, you're up. Here we go. Sam said that he did not get to be finished with his image, but you can see the idea that he was going for here. We do have the concept of the robot himself. Did not get finished with the entire scene, so we're not going to pay too much attention to this. Obviously, we're not even sure how he was going to take some of that. The robot, I like the wheels on the bottom, the universal, like a ball joint thing down here, Dyson, sort of thing. And this is a little different. Like, he's got a sleeping bag. I find that a little odd that a robot needs a sleeping bag. Maybe he's like, maybe he's the scout for a human, and maybe he like goes sets up camp for the human, and then this human needs a sleeping bag. Otherwise, I'm not sure. Okay. And these also seem kind of odd. Like, I'm not sure how you control that. It's like a snake hand? I think it could work, maybe. You might want to, instead of just making this look like a tube, because it looks like a wire, and obviously you can't really control a wire too much. If you just made it lots of little joints, almost like those, I don't have one in here, but those like snake grips for your camera. Like you can put your camera on it and it has like little legs, and each one's like a little jointed section. And then you can actually control each joint and make it a little more plausible. It really does depart a bit from the retro robot. It seems more advanced than that, a little more modern than that. But it's cool. I'm glad you were able to put out some ideas this week. And I know you didn't have the time to finish it. But I'm glad that you were able to do that. One thing I do like, the little digital eyes. He's got basically like a flat face, but he has little digital glowing eyes, and that's what it looks like. Even if you put the textured in there, so like you can see a little like the slats, you know, in between the little rows of lights, that could be cool too. Okay, Sebastian. Nick, man, hey, how's it going? We're looking at our entries here. If you just joined, Someone did click dislike on the stream. Well, you know what that is. Fat fingers. Mouse slip. That's what it always is. People have mouse slip, you know. Of all the thousands of things you click on, somebody has to slip up and click the wrong one because they weren't paying attention. Okay, Sebastian. Another solid piece. Always look forward to seeing your stuff, Sebastian. And we have more of a narrative scene going on in that there is, something is unfolding in this scene. It's not just a very static thing. I kind of like the dynamic here that I get the feeling that the humans are following the robot. Well, normally we think, you know, the robot explorers are going in. The human explorers are going in, and the robot is there to be their backup and carry their stuff or whatever. But it's like these guys are following the robot. He's the leader, and he looks kind of hardcore. In fact, when I first glanced at this, I had a distinct original Star Wars droids concept art sort of vibe off of him. And that's not a bad thing. So that's cool. I do also want to applaud your seashell trees. I guess that's what they are. Those are fun. Those are fun. I like that idea. These guys are good in that they're not overstated. And you went with the white tubing. Good take on that. That's usually you almost always see the black. So you took something that was old and very accepted and understood, and then just you kept the shape but changed the color. Guys, that's one of the best ways to reinvent and make something relatable but new. It's getting something that has the same shape, change the color. Get something that has the right color but change the shape. Those sorts of adjustments can really add something to your image and to your overall ideas. We do have a couple of things. Oh yeah, I was going to say, you could probably push the colors of this scene a little more. I know that you're not going for a blast of colors, but it still feels a little too muted. I think he did not get to finish this up to quite the level he wanted to. So if you continue working, let's push that vibrance up on the color saturation. And I'm also going to say that, like, on these guys, on the tree things, you could really divide these up so that this part that basically is downward facing catches a lot of green, and the top part is going to be catching more of the warm light from the top. And so you have a very split color scheme between warm orange tones coming down and this cool green coming up. So everything is underlit. Now I think you could have a lot more ambiance, on this scene if you were to do that. Like all of this underlight, more green. All this underlight here, more green. Even the underlight on his face could be kind of green. And so it has a slightly more ominous threat to it, which I think would work because this robot is already on the ominous side. And so I think that would be fitting. Okay. Now, we also need to think about how we're going to make this guy stand out. I feel like we're getting him lost a little bit up here. So if we add some light back here, and that might be you might have to do that by adding like fog coming in behind these trees and letting that light up. So basically he goes from darker than the background here to being lighter than the background up here. Well, no, that's the other way. One way or the other, like he needs to get darker than this, or he needs to be distinctly lighter than this. And so play with that to see what works. Federico, welcome, man. How's it going? Could make his eyes glow a little. Would sort of bring your eye to him. Yeah, you could make his eye thing a little bigger, actually, and let that red be a little bigger so that we get more pop from that. That's actually a good suggestion. I like that suggestion. It's the only large, bright red thing, and it would do good to draw your attention up there if it was even a little bigger. You could continue that somewhere else, like just a red glow or button or something on his gun, and that way you have that just located on him. Okay, next, Sofa. Sofa, you're up. There we go. This one feels a little rough, but I think you could keep working with it. The shape here is a little confusing. Like I get you have tentacle things here, but he has tentacle legs. I think maybe that could work, but this is what confuses me more. Okay, so he has like tentacly legs that could be all easy to climb stuff. But this thing sort of confuses me. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Is this a light? A laser? I don't know. It's sort of odd. So let's figure out what this is. I think it would actually be more useful if it was like a glowing red lens, like a camera. So we've got an eye to this thing. We know that it's looking at something. Well, we'd say it's an eye, but I mean, it's a lens, and we will equate that to being an eye. So yeah, but you know, maybe even take a look at like HAL 9000, or just any lens, a colored lens, and let that glow. And I think that would work a little better than this. This is an odd effect. He's found some sort of cool little rock. Okay, that's fine. Let's make the rock a little more unique. Can we find an interesting curve to it? Could this have been something that was organic? Give it a spiral pattern. Could it be like a coral plant that's glowing that he's found? In which case you could do that. I also feel like there's something going on back here, but it's just not finished enough for me to really know what that is. So, I mean, I'm assuming he's like not underwater, using a lot of blue tones. I think he's probably above ground. But that needs to be clarified. I don't know if this is sky or, you know, dark water. So yeah, we'll just keep moving on with the idea. Not quite finished enough for me to do a full critique of it. But yeah, just keep working on it and clarify things. Make sure that you clarify things for your viewer and that they're not having to try to figure out too much. No. Timmy. Let's see. We got a different style going on here. I always appreciate a different style. It's above water, but I feel like the underwater stuff too now. Yeah, it could really go either way on that one. Just depending a lot about how you handle the background, actually. Okay, this piece. Love getting your entry. It's a fun little scene. Almost like a little scene from a comic book. Is this the feeling that I'm getting from it? I am going to immediately suggest, while I remember, you might want to host these on some other site, because this is the biggest size that I could get off of that site, And it's like, if you want to enlarge the image on that site, you have to have an account with the site to see the full-size image. Now, I don't have an account for that site, so I couldn't do that. I just had to take a screen capture, because you also couldn't just right-click and save the image, and you couldn't drag the image off. So I have to do a screen capture and rename it and pull it in, which is kind of a hassle, especially if you're trying to get clients. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to see as much as possible without any hassle. So check out maybe ArtStation if you don't have an ArtStation account. Yeah, Dennis says, as Swatches, mine didn't make it in for some reason. Posted Friday, I think. I should have put in the link to YouTube comments instead of on the Swatches Facebook group, as I normally do. I thought I checked them. It is possible I overlooked it. I thought I grabbed everybody. I apologize, Dennis. You probably did, and I probably just missed it. If you haven't, let's say I should have put the link in the YouTube comments. Yeah, I have just started, using the Facebook channel, and oh God, I'm totally messing my terms up. The Facebook group. So I did look out there, but I might have missed it. You might have put it on a post that I didn't look at. Apologize for that. Jay Welch, I know I downloaded your thing, unless I saved it into the wrong stuff, because I remember typing Jay Welch as the name, because it came up with something else. That's odd. Yeah, I know you did. And I know that I downloaded it. Maybe I saved it into last week's folder. Let me look at this one and we'll take a look at it. So this one, like I said, has a very sort of comic book feel to it. I could almost see this as a scene from, what is that comic sort of anthology? Flight. It immediately made me think of the Flight comics, which is a collection of them. I think it works. However, let's push it a little further. It right now is almost a little too simple. And if we're going to make a full illustration out of it, then let's start adding in some of the design of the hair. Now, it can be line work, and it can be like half opacity. It doesn't have to be dark. But start giving some cool curly shapes to the hair and layer it out so that there is multiple layers to this. And when you immediately look at the image, you get little robot and the flower thingy. But then you look at it a bit further and you start seeing all these extra little stuff in the image. Maybe there's extra little flowers down here and grass petals and stuff. But there's subtle details that you put into that. Also, this could be like a starscape. This is an opportunity just to put some little star patterns, planet patterns. Again, these other patterns could be fairly subdued. Okay, let me pull up OBS for a second and switch to my webcam. And let me see if I saved that accidentally. I know before that sometimes it'll save 5 images a row to the same folder. Then the next image I download, it wants to save it to a completely different folder. I'm like, why are you doing that? So let's see if it put it in here. Yeah, because I had to manually type J Welch, and I don't know where it put that file. No, I don't know what happened to it. I apologize. I don't see, I didn't put it on my desktop either. Okay, well, you know what? Give me a second. Put the links right down here, you guys, that I didn't grab. Throw your links right here in the chat. We'll just talk for a second. And you two, put your links in the chat, and I'll pull them up, and I'll pull them off, and we'll talk about them here. So I'll give you a minute to go find your links and put them in the chat. Okay, let me go up to see if I missed any comments up here. Okay. Nick says, somebody's feels a lot like Ralph McQuarrie. That's never an insult. If you look anything like McQuarrie, you're doing good. Could make his eye. Alexa, cancel reminder. Yeah. Okay. Didn't make it in for some reason. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't see. Maybe my chat is not updating. That's probably what it is. My whole thing is my chat got froze again. Okay, trying. Yeah, the future is here. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, sometimes it falls through there, but we're doing okay. Tomorrow I plan on doing some Twitch streaming in the afternoon, and if you have not started joining over on the Vibrance, we will be having the Wednesday Vibrance, and we will be talking about some more things with goals. Last week we were talking about setting goals, the importance of it, some different things to be looking at, how to set smarter goals with that acronym. And we're going to kind of get on that and build off of that into another direction this Wednesday. So you don't want to miss that. It is one that is really going to... It's going to have to make... It'll have to push you if you want to get involved in it. And if you want to make use of it. Yay for Twitch. Yes, yay for Twitch. I can't wait to see more of Oberon or the Hooded Android. Yeah, we'll get to work on... I think it'll be Oberon and some environment concepts. So I started sketching some environment concepts and I was having a good time. So when you join in on that, then, you know, you can have your own sketchbook there and you can do some little sketches with me. I don't know if I'll be doing colors or lines or both, but yeah, that's what we'll be doing. When did you announce the next challenge? Oh, well, I didn't. Yeah, no, I didn't. So, I think next week we will do a Oberon inspired challenge. So it'll kind of fit into what I'm doing over on Twitch. I didn't have time to set up exactly what that's going to be. So for this week, I think we need to do another environment. Now, I know you guys don't like it, but I think that's what we need to do. And some of you are really getting better with it. I'm forcing you to have to do it. But it is helping. And let me go back to my other folder that has my file here. Open that up. Okay. Why do you think they're character artists, environment artists, and not both? Is it a mental thing? No, I think it's mainly... Okay, two things. I would say coming down to two things. One is interest. Generally, people are more interested in characters or more interested in environments. And that's fine. And so you practice more of those and you draw more of those. I am not real interested in drawing plants. So I don't draw many plants. I don't just sit around drawing plants very much. And then the other thing is, if you're looking at the professional field, that people generally are a little more specialist. And while it's good to be a generalist, it's good to be able to draw anything and everything, people do have a tendency to specialize in certain things, and that's what you get a little more known for, so that's fun. Okay, well, I put the link in the comment in your previous YouTube. Sorry, that's the one you, the only way to give you the link. You can just copy and paste it in here, yeah. Yeah, you can just put it in this chat right here, and I'll pull it straight out of the live chat. That's what I'm talking about. It's hard for me to go to the other one while I have this one live streaming. So, you know, I will come back and we'll look at those. I'll go ahead and do the randomizing on the new challenge in the meantime. Will you guys figure out that? And let me switch back over here. Cool. Oh, it won't let you post links in the chat. I did not know that. I thought that you could do that. All right, well, give me a second. Then post them in whatever the last video is. I'll try to get to it with this other tab. I've not tried to do that before. Nope, I need to go... I need to go here. Okay, so you posted it on Livestream 18. I mean, 17, sorry. Let me look. Okay, Jay Welch is right over here. I can pull that up. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how I lost you guys' stuff. That's weird. Yeah, I remember downloading this image. Alright, save image. When I don't want to save image, we can just switch right over here to my screen. That's fine. Yeah, here we go. Alright, so this is Jay Welch. It says, time management was a struggle this week. I couldn't seem to find as many hours as the piece needs, but it kept me a bit looser in drawing. Catch you Monday. Awesome. So, yeah, it didn't have the high amount of polish that she would want for it, but we get the gist of what's going on. Alien terrain. This little guy is zooming around, and he's got some sort of scanning ray, I take it. That's cool. So where would you go from here? Well, the robot almost seems a little simple. Like, I'm not sure. It's like, I feel like there's a couple of different shapes there, but I'm going to tell you to go back and take a look at some of the old sci-fi stuff. And it doesn't necessarily have to have arms, but there's not a lot of thought here. It doesn't really say much of anything. It's just a couple of shapes. So let's see if we can try to find some shapes that are reminiscent of the classic robots. Some little, like antennas were a big thing. Glass pieces that you could see stuff inside. Little glowing bits. Panels with like big buttons on them. So, have a call back to that. Also think about if he's coming this direction, that he's actually at a kind of a 3/4 view, right? And I feel like he's completely in profile when the angle of his trajectory is saying that he should be coming at us a little bit. We should see a bit of the front and a bit of the side. So let's watch the form and the angle on that. I think it's kind of funny that this is here like this. It's like almost too unlikely that it would form this way. And so if you want to do that, I almost suggest having that being a pattern. Like this is a natural formation for the ground to do this on this alien planet, to make these big loops. Also, if this guy was back here, it's like, I don't know how far this is supposed to be. It feels like this isn't that very far away. And if he went through there, he wouldn't fit. Like if you get the height of him and the height of this thing and the width of this thing, like he wouldn't make it around that. So we either need to do a better job of like getting depth, we need more distance to it, or he needs to be shorter, or this thing can frankly just go off. We don't need to see the full connection. If we see part of this going up and part of this coming down, we're going to get the idea it's a loop and he went through the loop. We don't necessarily need to see the entire loop to know that. Also, let's take a look at the color scheme, and if you want to go with a sort of orangey brown with a green, then let's make sure we carry that up here, and I think the violet colors are sort of breaking off from that a bit much. So let's adjust that sky, and if you can see galaxies, I feel like that's kind of what's going on here. That if you can see galaxies, then it should probably be the other way. It's almost like this whole thing is reversed, that it needs to be dark instead of light. Anyway. Okay, next was... Oh, I opened it over here. That's right. Okay, Dennis. We have his over on ArtStation. Retro style robots about to have a big surprise. Again, we've got a little, some sort of plant thing here, which is just the top of the big beastie underneath. I do like your kind of utopian little space you know, astronaut people. That's fun. Okay, different things that I like. I do like this very retro sort of feel to it. I feel like this guy's almost getting lost. Like his value and his color is so close to the ground that I almost lose him. So I would suggest finding a way to pull him out a little more. The ground seems really level. If you want to go, I mean, in a way I can justify that because this is like very illustrative and you're not taking this really literal at all. Otherwise, maybe having a little undulation to the ground could be nice. Let's develop the trees some more. Having alien trees is fine. This just is swirlies. It's like a lot of attention is given to these shapes. A lot of attention are given to these guys. That's cool. But I feel like some of these other elements that are big elements in the scene are not getting the sort of same attention. And we want to make sure that that is the case. So, you know, let's give me some fun alien tree shapes back here as well. And I don't think you necessarily need to go in and do details on this back. That's not the sort of illustration. But let's really at least bring up the design approach to these plants as you do to the characters. And then pull him out a little bit more with his values and his colors. Yeah. The blue also is a little odd. I don't know. Well, yeah, let's talk about this design a little bit. The glass, fine, okay. But then it's just a big black thing inside. Let's replace that with something that we can consider a brain. A series of, almost like a Tesla coil. Put a Tesla coil in there. A series of the sort of rings going up. Or it comes up and it has like little antennae sticking off of it. Something that's a little more interesting, that feels a little more techy. And that would make sense. Okay. Let me pull that out. And when you go back to the one where everybody else is. Okay. So I'm going to pick out a couple of winners for this week. Okay. There was several of you that were really close, but you didn't even finish your image as much. So I have to look at some that have really good execution and I thought just handled things really well. James, you're close. Like if you had finished this, I would probably give it to you because I think this is going so well. But yeah, not quite finished. As you know, sometimes I pick multiple winners, whatever I think will stand out. As I've come to expect, and I love seeing, Coito, you're one this week. And guys, take a look at the way that he approaches stuff. Learn from what he's doing. He's consistently been putting out really good quality without an abundance of details. This scene isn't really overworked. He's focused on just using a lot of the strong fundamentals in order to get a good scene. So him and Sebastian, close. I just feel like it was a little unfinished. And I think if we could give it a little more polish, it would be there. So my co-winner this week, is Amari. I love the little robot. I thought it had a lot of heart to it. And it had just an overall good finish. And it had, you know, a fun feel to it. It's well handled. It's a well crafted image. So those are my two winners this week. My honorable mentions are going to Sebastian and also Igor. This image. This one is close. Honestly, I had to think about this one. I just felt like the whole scene seemed a little flat. And almost a little too much pop for some of it. And that if you actually limit some of the values, you can make the scene a little stronger. Other standout is just based on its color scheme and the funness of this one. I thought it was a standout. It doesn't have the refinement that it needs, I think, to really to compete against some of the others, but it has a really good start to it, and let's see some more work on that. All right, so now let's move over to the this challenge, and I need to put my chat back down here because I cannot see what anybody's saying, and I have to like put it underneath all these other layers. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, congrats to those guys. And, of course, now, I know next week we'll start with the one winner reward thing. But I want to go ahead and say, you know, these guys get their rewards. And I also want to go ahead and do the short interview. So send me a message, and because I don't know what your real names are or that sort of thing. So you need to send me a message so that I can get in touch with you over on Facebook or make a post on Facebook, and I will comment on that. And I'm going to send you a couple of questions about your pieces, and I will put that together in just a little picture interview thing, and we'll put it out there on the page, and everybody can learn off of that and be involved. Okay, multiply, set that, and let me find my die. All right, random environment. Here we go. What are we going to get this week? Now, this is a sheet that I came up with. I wrote it up a while back, and just random environment concepts. If you don't know what to draw, these sort of things can be really good. All right, 1 to 10 on climate. What sort of climate is this? We have a number 8, volcanic. We've not done volcanic, so we will do that. I don't want to do two things back to back that are the same, so doing that. Number 3, it has an ancient tower in the scene. What is the mood or tone? It is mysterious. Okay. Mysterious volcanic place with a tower. Ancient tower, not tech. 4. And there's some characters in the scene. Now, the characters are minor. It is about the scene. But the characters need to be in here either to give like scale or just give a sense of human connection to it. They could be in the foreground, background, whatever they are. I would suggest that these are probably characters that you don't see the face, because that is a good way to indicate what the scene's focus is. If you include the face of a person, it automatically connects you to that individual. Rather, if you can't see their face, then it becomes about how that person relates to the environment. And they become an addition to the environment rather than the environment is an addition to them. Location. Let's see. Alien, fantasy, or Earth? I got a 0. I forget that there is a 0 on this dice. Okay, yeah, I can't roll that. You know what? I'm going to say just Earth or fantasy version of Earth. We'll get out of the alien this time. Yep. And I don't think we need these. These are for like if you're going to be doing man-made places. It's places like villages, towns, fortresses, palaces. And next time, maybe we'll do that. This one, we're going to start with just mainly landscape, natural landscape. This is man-made places. And the... You know what? I could see... Maybe we come up with something good on that. No, it's already mysterious. I think that trumps that. I think mysterious is good. That's fine. All right, so that is your outline. Volcanic place, ancient tower, mysterious characters. Off the hand, this automatically sounds like the Eye of Sauron tower in Mordor. It's sort of mysterious because it's dark and there's mist, and the sky is real thick and dark, and it's volcanic. Not that there is lava everywhere, but it was obviously volcanic. All the surface was black and charred, and it had that sort of magma pattern to it. And there were certain pieces that were glowing that had steam coming off. So you don't have to go overboard with volcanic. Also, let's try to avoid the completely stereotypical volcano, right? Can we change that up a little bit? At least if you're going to have a volcano, then don't make the top completely, perfect. Let's break it this way, or have cracks in it so that some parts are lower or higher than other parts. Or it doesn't actually have a volcano. Maybe the entire ground itself has just bubbles, almost like natural springs of lava coming up. There's a lot of ways to approach it. Do some thumbnail sketches, work out some different compositions, some shapes that you like, and then figure out the tower or the people. What is their connection to the tower? Are they going to the tower? Are they coming from the tower? Are they on the tower? So you can have to figure that out as well. And, is the tower what the lava is coming out of? Is this the thing that's causing it to be volcanic? Or is this something that is succumbing to the volcano and the magma? Is this something that's slowly sinking into it? Or, has the magma over time, poured over it and it became part of the environment? So, think through this. Try to add more history to it that way. Awesome. All right, let me take a look at you guys' questions. Do the characters have to be human? I'm going to say in this case, yeah, let's have human characters. Yeah. Well, let me say. Human characters, and they need to be human. You know what? No. Let's say, like humanoid. We don't need, like, animals. I kind of divide it there. Let's not go animals, but if you wanted to be like an ogre or some sort of fantasy creature that might exist in that realm that would be humanoid, yeah, I'll go with that. I don't have any problem with that. Yeah. And this is on Earth, so it would be fantasy Earth creatures, not a straight up alien. Yeah. What is the deadline? So I should be streaming next week. I'm not out of town. So yeah, it will be 5 p.m. Central Standard Time next Monday, which is we have the end of the month. I forget which day that comes out, like the 5th or 6th, whatever next Monday is. Yeah, and I will be posting this out on the Facebook page as well, just so you know exactly what it is and you can look back out there and know what it is. We got some ideas. I think the Avatar Last Airbender and Zelda Breath of the Wild, a volcanic mountain region. Yeah, oh man, I love Breath of the Wild's art. The art direction on that is fantastic. Yeah. Or a frozen crater. Doesn't have to be an active volcano. That's true. It could be a frozen crater. Volcanic. Yeah, an ice volcano sort of thing. That's cool. And yeah, you could have a cold thing too. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be active volcano, just as long as that's what is looking like it was going on. I was just looking up some of the patterns that volcanoes and magma make. You could Google for Hawaii is basically the most volcanic active place on Earth, I believe. And so you can go out there and take a look at some photos and the ways that shapes the environment, and islands shaped by that sort of thing. So, okay, we are at, we're already like 2 hours into this thing. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up there unless you guys have some final questions. I'll take a couple of minutes and just take some final questions if you have it. Otherwise, I've got to get to some commissions because I've hardly worked on them at all today, and I've been running around doing other stuff. But I have hope you have been staying up with your Vibrance Challenge this week as well, which was to do your goal setting and doing your 3 20-minute workouts a week. I got back from the gym a little earlier before I streamed myself, so I'm right on cue for that. Can we pay you for consultations? Pat asked. Good question. Yes and no. You can become a $40 patron over on patreon.com/swatches. And you can submit me your image and I will give you feedback on that. You can send me direct questions that you want me to address on that as well. But at the moment, no, I am not doing one-on-one live consultations. I might do that in the future. I know that there's a lot of interest to it. Right now, it's just a time thing. In between doing like 3-4 live streams a week and having 3 commissions on top of some other projects just in life that I have, I can't take on more consultations. But yeah, check out there, and that might be the answer that you need. Otherwise, you can get some peer feedback. Feel free to shoot me questions like out on Facebook and stuff. If I have time, I'll try to get to them. No promises though. All right, well, it looks like that is pretty much the end of it. George says, as Swatches, thank you so much. I always learn so much from watching your streams. I can't wait to have your feedback on Patreon. Oh yeah, George joined me out up there, so he's going to be getting some the private feedback videos. That's awesome. Good to have you out there. And until I see you next time, guys, keep drawing.